Good evening, everybody. My name's Jill Holyoake. If you're expecting to see Nick Philpott, he's on a train somewhere between Sheffield and London. Welcome, everyone, to the Red and Blue Review and the Red and Blue News platforms. Tonight, along with Ian Lyons and hopefully Ben Allen, we will try to pick the bones out of a Palace shit show. A car crash so bad that people are already making it akin to Huddersfield last year and Sunderland some years ago. How do I describe it? In a sentence full of commas: gutless, inept, weak, technically poor, or tactically poor, technically poor, leaderless, lacking creativity, no ambition to win the ball or to create space to receive the ball. I couldn't be more annoyed. You know how it is with me. I always try and say things as I see it. That was as probably in the three worst performances in at least 5 years. I am lost for words, and it's time I will say welcome Ian Lyons to the. What I'm hoping is not just going to be a car crash between us, but if we can try and put, I'm going to say positivity, but I'm not holding out much hope, mate.
No, definitely not. I think the only positive thing was half-time and full-time. But other than that, I mean, it was interesting you're using the words to describe the performance. I tried to condense it to 3, not 15, and I got gutless, pedestrian, and disinterested, because that's how it came across, almost from the start. I mean, it was a relatively pedestrian start, and it got slower. I don't think it got any faster, did it? It was just error-strewn guff. It was so poor, and I'm sure so many of the guys that are going to be logging on tonight are going to be with us in that. It's listen, we got to call it when we see it. Although I quite agree with you, we need to be positive when we can. Also, we've got to be open and honest. I mean, because that's what everyone wants, isn't it? So we're not going to gloss over it.
No, you're right. And I know we were talking just pre-show, and you were giving marks out of 10 for certain players. And I can tell you now from what I've seen on Twitter, there are people that are saying the complete opposite. But then everybody has a different view, I suppose.
Sure.
So the first 45 minutes, tedious, uninspiring, lack of effort, lack of creativity. Pretty much what you've said, I've said already. And probably the best part of that was, like you said, the referee's whistle for half time.
I took some notes. I mean, just to let people know, the guys on this podcast do so much work during the week and actually on watching the game. So I've ended up having to do like 5 pages of notes just to talk about the game. And I'm going through the notes, and I've got 3 minutes. O'Connell has got a collision with Benteke, thinking great. They've sat up with a back 3. They like to push them wide, and their centre backs have a lot of, their touch map is pretty much on the wings and everything else. That'd do us favour. And then on 5 minutes, the one positive thing I've got from us in the whole of the half, Benteke shot on target, long ball from the back, will flick on. Benteke does well to win it, got a shot in a target, and then it's all Sheffield United. We don't win our first corner until the 20th minute or 19 minutes, and then that's just cleared. No pressure at all. I've got between 20 and 30 minutes. We got a second corner, possible VAR shout on Ward, and then he gets good clearance, sets up a counter attack, which then peters out because Benteke gets the ball. Wilf is supposed to be his strike partner, then ends up going the other side of the pitch, and 7 of their players come back goal side of the ball, and then it's snuffed out. John Fleck goes off. Luke Freeman, I thought had a good game when he came on. It's John Fleck, Robert Fleck's son. Do we know? Because he is Scottish.
Shout,
I did wonder. Then on 30 minutes, PVA gets the ball under no pressure, looks up the wing, pings it up the wing. I'm thinking, oh, brilliant! He's exploited the space of their three centre backs, in the channels, and then the camera pans round to the ball boy picking it up because it goes out. I've got a good reverse. Go on. Okay, I could carry on, but
I just think that was endemic of the whole game with our fullbacks thinking that they were just trying to play Beckham passes. I'll tell you what it reverted to. I thought the way that we just tried to target Benteke, the way that we did 3 years, 3 years ago, it was just absolutely useless. And what I also thought was that while Benteke was, I don't know what he was trying to do. Maybe he was just trying to hold it up and then pass it 35, 40 yards to Wilf on the wing, because they weren't together. If we were playing,
they weren't together.
No, if we were playing 4-4-2, we absolutely weren't. We were. I don't know what we were playing.
So the problem is they're playing with a back three. So I guess what Roy was trying to do is to have both the strikers out wide, is to open it up for us to run through the middle or be more direct or whatever. But the problem is that what you want your front two to occupy all three in the middle to give your wingers the chance to exploit the space in between the fullbacks and or the wing backs and the centre back. But it just wasn't happening. It long ball all the time, and all I saw all the time.
Well, I'll tell you what I did notice as well, that when we went up for a header, we were expecting to get smashed, which is what I would have hoped that every time one of our players went up, we were going to go through them. But yeah, I mean, it was the hoof ball of 3 years ago. It was shocking. It was.
But
really
it wasn't even passing. It was aimless. I mean, Mickey Philpott, I've just seen what's coming. That's fantastic. I thought they walked out of the tunnel nicely. Yeah, they did look quite smart actually. But other than that, yeah, it was a letdown from there on in.
Well, so first half done, second half come out and concede. Talk us through the goal, mate. And I'll add what I think.
I won't put the three words I put in first off, because it begins in F and then carries on. It's just PVA and Luca were asleep in the middle. It's a good move down the left, good interplay. Ward isn't near his man. The guy lucks into getting in a good position. Freeman, I actually thought he was going for the corner anyway. I think I know on the TV they were saying it was a poor pass, but Gator did quite well to get to it, but then he pushes it into the path of the oncoming player. It was a fair enough finish, but that player walked past PVA and Luca in order to get in that position. So they just switched off, and that's what was happening all the time. Luca and PVA in particular would look so disinterested. It was horrendous.
Well, you're saying just those two. I thought we had.
Oh no! In that particular instance, those two. But
okay, yeah. I mean, but there were two players that were completely unmarked in a penalty area for that goal. I mean, disappointing is had Hennessy passed that out. I'm just trying to think. Who was the Southampton goalkeeper we had in goal? McCarthy. Do you remember McCarthy?
Oh yeah.
He parried. He got absolutely pilloried for parrying the ball outwards. I think Gator has he's had his welcome, and he's been. I think he's at fault for that. And then later on in the game, he came for a cross, and he punched the ball and punched it into almost the same area. I just thought defensively today, I thought we were absolutely all over the place, with nowhere near as strong as what we looked last week. The difference makes you almost wonder whether something has happened during the week where there's been just like a riot at training and
I'm
they
not
ain't
sure.
talking to each other.
No, I'm not so sure. I just think it's a mentality thing. I think we only seem to get ourselves up for what we consider will be tough games. And I think with Sheffield United, just like Huddersfield, I know you alluded to it at the start, is that we went up there, said, yeah, bring it all on. We'll soak up the pressure, then we'll hit you on the break. They just, on the end, I think even Alan Smith on the TV said, quite rightly said, on the end of every one of our passes is one of their players looking to smash us and get a tackle in.
Yeah.
And exactly the opposite for us. Every one of their passes was finding a player in between both lines with no one near him. And that we just sit off people all the time.
I think tactically we were out thought today. Anytime they attacked down at PVA side, well, we all know that PVA's,
everyone's targeting him. Everton did. It won't be any different.
Everyone did. But they know that you're going to get a crossing. That's the thing. And all you need to do is double up on him. You're guaranteed to get a crossing every time. I think what they also did was they doubled up. They basically doubled up on both sides of the wings, which is why when they did score, that there were 3 players involved in 20 yards in that move. The ball through, the Freddie ball through the big triangle of players was, was the killer ball for us or against us. But and again, so we go 1-0 down and we have, I don't know, maybe 5 or 8 minutes where they can't get the ball off us, but we don't do anything. We've got Big Ben up front. Now I'm gonna, as much as I'm not gonna.
He had no service.
Exactly.
He had nothing to feed off.
But you know what? For once, I'm gonna completely agree with you, right? And I am not.
What about Benteke? Not in life, because you always agree with me in life.
No, I am not going to claim Benteke tonight because the service that he had today was. It just, we didn't play to his game. We didn't. We put Meyer out on the left hand side. That is not Meyer's game.
Wasted.
We had players that were just all over the place. I really don't think tactically I'm going to get caned for this. I think Roy's done. I don't think that the players or some of the younger, well, they're all younger than him, aren't they? I don't think he has their respect. I think if you pulled him out into the public and said, yeah, he's a great manager. He's managed around the world, done this bit, Liverpool, England. But I think he's done. Whatever he is, 71, 72. I think they need to be screamed at and shouted at. There is a lot of there's a lot to be said about a manager going in there and instead of trying to be clever and cool and calm and go in there and start launching gear around and getting in players' faces and trying to get them up. I can't see that an old person is unfortunately is gonna do it. For me, it's with 2 games in.
So who do we think is there? I tell you what.
You know what? I'll tell you what. What do you think after that absolutely shocking half, right? The first half. What do you think Sean Dyche? I'm not saying that I want Sean Dyche. What do you think Sean Dyche would have done? He'd have gone in that dressing room. He'd have probably got security to stand out there and say, whatever you do, whatever you hear, don't you let anyone in here. And I reckon he'd have got his gloves on and said, right, let's have it. And if you don't want to, honestly, if you don't want to play for our club, if you don't want to get out there and tackle and try, I mean, they looked Sunday League to me. I am so annoyed.
Look, should we just pare this back to actually the starting lineup, because we haven't even discussed the starting lineup yet.
Go on, do it, and then we can pick that. So we can pick that to pieces.
Okay, all right. So it's 4-4-2. Gaeta, Ward right back, PVA left back, Kelly Dan in the middle, Andros and Meyer left and right wing, Jimmy Mack, Luca, Benteke out front, and obviously Wolfing for Ayew. Now, on paper, clearly, that's, I think, based off of last week's game, where we played a better opponent and looked relatively comfortable against them. Wolf coming in for Ayew was the obvious choice. But it seems as though we've missed Ayew's tenacity and drive. And I didn't ever think I'd say that or be caught on video saying that.
Well, we've always said that. We've always said that he gives everything, and he just isn't. I mean,
But and Camarasa wasn't even on the bench.
Well, someone said,
was he injured?
I know, yeah, I think he was. I think he played in the under-23s and took a knock. So I think that's the reason why he was included in the squad, but not in the actual team, the actual team to play. The only thing I would have swapped from that whole thing is purely based on he is now a player of ours and not a loanee. My own thing, and Lee Gilbert's going to hate me for saying this, but I wouldn't have Benteke. I would have because the thing is, as soon as you play Benteke, his strength is in the air. When you're playing against Sheffield United, their strength is not on the floor; it's in the air.
Yeah,
talk about play straight into their hands.
There was
centre backs are just going to go. Oh, you could just.
Thank you.
And they just proved it. They just proved it the whole game.
There isn't just two of them either. There's three of them.
Exactly.
You know, just mopping him up. He was the sandwich. He was the filling in the sandwich. I mean, there was a great stat on 80 minutes, number of touches in the box. And at that time, United had 21 to our 10. And 4 of those were in one ping-pong movement in the first half. So it was, for a counter-attacking team, that was woeful.
Well, yeah, well, it was. It was. I mean, Wilf, I can't remember seeing Wilf as disinterested ever, like literally ever. I know that he had, as soon as he got the ball, they got 3 or 4 players on him. They just swarmed him, basically, which is what he should be used to that now. You know, he is our talisman. I expect better of him. I expected better of him. I know they're going to try and kick him. It's nothing new. Everybody.
Yeah, but at least if he's getting the ball, then have other players around him to take it off him when he draws 2 or 3 in.
Well, now this is the thing. This is the whole thing, and I have said this. I'm blue in a bloody face about Palace. Now, if you watch, I'm going to say, watch a top 6 side. Watch Spurs, Arsenal, Liverpool, City, United. When one of their own players has got the ball, they will not stand next to an opposition player. They will go. They will find space and want the ball.
Mm-hmm.
Our players hide. Our players hide. What they're expecting is the ball to be banged in at them, where they're going to need a worldie of a first touch, which pretty much basically none of them have got.
Well, the only one that does that, passes and moves, is Max Meyer. And he's on the wing, having to defend and having to back up the poorest fullback we've got. If he was in front of Ward, he'd have more of a license to go forward because Ward's half sensible when it comes to defending. But he's always tracking back, trying to cover for PVA. You know, and then you turn around. They both drop back into the corner. They win the ball, and then there's no one on the wing to hit it to because they're both standing next to each other. Ridiculous. John Kenny come up with so I did see it, John, just come up. The point about why Cahill's not starting yet. You know, I don't know myself. I think after today's performance, it'll be an excuse to drop perhaps Dan. I don't know how close Sacco and Tompkins are.
I think they're a long way away. Both.
Really?
Yeah. Summer Kearson, I just saw his thing up there. I know we are going to involve you guys a lot more tonight, purely because of the lack of content that we have. You know, we're going to make a conscious decision to. But Summer Kearson said it. You know, it looked like his heart. You know, his heart isn't with us, and that's what he looks like. You see him, and he's not. I mean, I've seen 1 photo or 2 photos of him in the last, I don't know, whatever, month or so, since they've been back from training, and where he's smiling. All the other times he seems to be scowling.
Yeah, when he got the ball, he wasn't driving into the box, driving forward. It was just like a couple of step overs. Okay, yeah, he was crowded out and lost the ball, but you know, there was normally he'd have that tenacity. And Graham Souness was bigging him up before the game, saying what a player he is and that he's a much better player than he used to be now. This guy's a warrior. This guy's a fighter. And then he's having a fucking thing. Sorry. This is what it does, isn't it? Then he's having to, swallow his words at half time and say, almost as if, don't come looking at me. I didn't say he was that good, because he just let him down.
All right. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll go on to the substitutions in a minute. It's just involved the audience for a little bit. So Lee Lockwood said PVA a fraud of a left back. Stephen Arle said another shocking game from PVA. Teresa Baker said Tompkins is 6 to 8 weeks away.
Oh wow, blimey!
And I know. Well, I think that's both. I think it's both of them. I did put on Twitter earlier. People were saying about
where is he in Australia? Is he walking back?
Yeah, about Sacco. Sacco has missed 1/3 of his career.
Yeah,
right. 1/3 of his entire career injured.
Wow.
So it's anyway. And then people. I mean, I don't really like reading these out because we've got players now, not harking back to others. But Kabay made Luca look good, and Thomas Lucas said Zaha is overrated. I know you're frustrated, and he needs kicking out of the club. I know you're frustrated, Thomas. So we won't go massively into that. But I think he's.
But is he wrong?
No, he probably isn't.
He's had a shocking start to the last 2 seasons, let alone this one. He's one of these players that seems to grow into a season, but again, his head's not in it, and that's someone we're relying on. Jimmy Mack, another one. How many times did he give the ball away today?
Well, he didn't give it away as much as Luca. I mean, Luca
no, fair play, but he still did.
Luca had his worst. For me, he had his worst game so far. For me, the important times where we needed him to steady himself and get a cross in, he didn't do it. The free kick, everything was just appalling, absolutely appalling. And the other thing as well, what I noticed was, if you looked at their free kicks, had their delivery been better, they had 1 or 2 over past our defenders that would have been in on our goal.
Yeah,
had their delivery been better. We don't even have that option. When you look at it and go, God, blimey, if only they'd got that ball a little bit higher, we had 2 players like PVA come steaming in. The thing about PVA, I need to just go to him very quickly while we were talking. He was getting caned in the chat, and we've turned around and said that he's had a nightmare as well. Is that all of a sudden PVA is acting in exactly the same way as Aaron did last year, whereas he gets to the halfway line, and as soon as he gets within 5 yards past, he has to stop. It just reminds me of Paul Parker. When Paul Parker went to Man United, he was a wing back for QPR. When he went to Man United, it was like he got a nosebleed. What is going on? We know that PVA scores goals if he gets forward. I honestly don't understand this hugely defensive mentality against potentially a bottom 6 side. We aren't a bottom 6 side. Well, saying that, maybe we are. Maybe we're all deluded. Maybe we're all just too vociferous.
Well, no, I don't think we're deluded. I think we've got a right to have a certain expectation. I mean, I know I've been on in previous shows about
expectations
the unrealistic. Yeah, exactly. I think we do have an element of unrealistic expectation, but yours and my expectations is based on, as you say, reality and just the basics. Or as always, if we just get the basics of players putting a foot in, showing some effort, that's all we can ask, because they're not going to win every game. But even said that, I mean, I just see a message from Eileen Fay on come up about all the players were bad, no one had a good game. I actually wouldn't necessarily agree with that too much, Eileen. Is that there's always one player that's better than the rest. And for me, and this is being positive, I think Kelly, for the second game running, is probably my Palace man of the match. I think it's been superb. He started off superbly. He's so solid, so dependable when everything else around him seems to be falling apart.
No, you're right. You are right. And I just was saying about reality and Claire Davies has said, evening Claire, expectation is healthy. Well, expectation is also obsessional.
And only if it's realistic expectation.
Well, there you go. And I think that we are, I think that we are over. I think we're expecting more from potentially hard, a load of 29 to 33-year-old players. For me, I really don't know. Nick, our own Nick Philpott, I'm sitting on the train now. He said our back four today was a championship defence. Well, there you go. I mean, that's, Nick was there. He could see it for himself. Nigel Croucher said we have no quality to put the ball in from a dead ball. Well, we do. That's the thing. Luca genuinely.
Max Meyer's our bet. I don't know why he's not taking a lot of them.
You are absolutely right. I think that's the thing. I think Meyer is our best, but he just isn't playing in the right way. And again, I think that's the only way that we're going to see the best out of Max Meyer is if he is coached by somebody else.
Or in the hole, played in the position that he should be being played in. Schlupp's going to come in on the left now. I was surprised that Hodgson didn't take Meyer off. I think that's a positive for me because he obviously understands how good a player he is for us. But Schlupp is just going to be his go-to man now. And I think that's probably what PVA needs in front of him, to be fair. He needs a more defensive-minded individual.
He is the only person.
Paper over the cracks.
He is the only person. But the thing is, because they are, for me, Schlupp and PVA are pretty much, they're much of a muchness. They can both play at left back, sort of, and they can both play advanced roles and on the left side. I'm not going to say they're left wingers because I don't actually think that they are. They're not genuine wingers for me. I honestly don't know what they are. They're almost like a luxury, but without the skill. And as bizarre as that sounds, but yeah, I don't know.
Just look at what else on the screen now, Mickey. I mean, the comments coming through. You guys are on fire tonight. They're pretty much agreeing with everything that Jill and I have got down to say or have said already. Mickey said if they stop peeing about in their own rear until they lose the ball, we'd probably be a better side. And I posted something that Red and Blue News picked up about the number of touches by players. And our top 4 players who had the most touches were exactly that, Mickey. They were all the defence because that's all we did. The only time we ever controlled possession, controlled the game, was knocking it sideways, side to side. And Sheffield United were quite happy just to sit back and let us do it. And then as soon as the ball came in, that was it, crunch.
Yeah, without a doubt. And that was the other thing as well, is when they did tackle us, they properly sort of went through, had a little bit of a go.
Well, Baldock and Zaha were having a go, running.
Yeah, I thought the ref was weak today. He could have stamped on that, but anyway, Lee Lockwood has turned around and said, "I think the turmoil at the top has definitely got to the players." Well, maybe. Chris White, he just said Mayer must play in the middle. He's totally wasted out on the left.
Yeah.
Daniel Garlick turned around and said we were shocking today. I think that's the most understated message that we've had so far, Daniel. 4 out of 10 for you. Must try better. Simon Krebbin.
Well,
I don't know whereabouts Simon is. Every time I see Simon on Facebook, he's somewhere around the world, but I imagine he's probably back in Canada. But yeah, I mean, the only thing is I've got Paul Glance, Evening Lord.
Evening Lord.
He said he heard Roy's post-match and he said he thought we were not good enough. And again, that is just the most understated statement. As if you can come out with something even worse.
Well, Dan said exactly the same thing. So if you're thinking that during the game, step it up. Get into them. Dan was the captain. It doesn't matter who wears the armband. You've got natural captains on that pitch. Get them by the scruff of the neck and get it into their head. They should be doing better.
No, you're right. And I'd say, and a friend of mine, Roy, who's a hugely passionate Palace fan, he said, "Joe, I'm not disappointed in the result, but really paid off at the lack of desire, passion, and bottle.
Yeah.
In my view, there is something toxic at the club, starting at the top." And a couple of people have agreed, and I think you're right. And again, it's been alluded to already, Roy. I really do think. But the thing is, I think Roy has almost alluded to it. Let's go on to that, but because everyone keeps mentioning it, and I think that we have said for ages as well. We know the club's up for sale. Well, at least a large part of the club's up for sale, and by those two billionaires, because they are two billionaires that want to sell their shares, their lack of investment. I don't know what they honestly thought we were going to do. They were going to come in and, let's just say, give us 70 million quid, then sit back and we'll just, qualify for Europe, or just finish top 10 and then take a little bit of money, their whatever amount of money they're taking out as a directorship from the club, and just sit on it every year. I really don't know. I mean, when you're an owner, generally, if you're a small club like we are in this big, rich fishbowl, you do have to put your hand in your pocket. It is that's why the owners of football clubs are billionaires, so that if they have to put the odd 50, 60, 70 million in, and it sounds terrible, isn't it? After all the charity stuff that I do, and I'm going, if they only put in 50, 60, 70 million,
it's those unrealistic expectations again.
It's a terrible thing to say, but that is the
it's the way the game's gone.
League. Wow. That's exactly. But if they have to do that, then that's what they have to do. You can't just come in. It's like you buy a Porsche and likening Palace to a Porsche.
Get a Fiat 500.
You buy a Mercedes and you run it on crap petrol. Instead of putting super unleaded in it. It's really like, it annoys me that people, if they come in and basically, my own personal opinion is that they have made this toxic because now they realise that we're not going to win. We maybe not win the FA Cup. We maybe not win whatever the other cup's called, whoever sponsors it every year.
Carabao.
Whatever.
Have you not got that yet?
And whatever, we just about survive in the Premier League. They aren't going to get a return apart from, I don't know, $1 million. And $1 million to a billionaire is nothing. It is pocket change. So I am frustrated that our investors are not investing on a regular basis.
It definitely would seem as though they're acting as like an anchor, dragging the club's progress.
Yeah, saying that, I might take that back a little bit. So they did what they did. The club was in the mire for a little bit, and they put in a lot of money. I think Parish and the two Americans put in some money each, and that, I'm pretty sure, is where the AWB money went back into the club and paid the directors off. So that's why I think we were lacking any investment, because after whatever it was, 35 million was needed, or 30 odd million was needed to balance the books, to make us to get us away from FFP and to make us look attractive to a prospective buyer. Then that money had to be, and they've just taken that money back. It leaves nothing. And everyone's screaming for us to get a right back. Well, a decent right back coming into the Premier League, even from the Championship, is going to cost us, let's say, £15 million, and he isn't going to want 30 grand a week that he's on in the Championship. He's going to want 70 grand a week. So, it's very, very frustrating. But anyway, it is what it is. Let's get back to the questions. Have you got anything?
No, I haven't got the feed up.
Okay, well, I'll tell you what.
While you're looking, Ben O'Reilly's just put a good point up, saying, that he doesn't necessarily agree because most strikers would struggle with no service. And I think, again, that's the point we were making earlier. We wouldn't be too hard on Benteke purely because he's not getting a service. I mean, if you put this Benteke in Arsenal's front line, if you put Jellorai in Arsenal's front line, we'd score a couple of goals a season, purely on the chances that they would actually
only if they kicked it at me and it went enough.
Well, no, because actually you and I would be a good pairing because you just bulldoze it and I'll just nip in, box in a box, bang away. But, but the point is still a valid one in the chart. Strikers rarely do you get a striker that actually creates his own chances, picking the ball up and then running off with it and then burying it. A lot of them feed off the service, and that is something we've stopped providing. And that is part of also the reason that why Benteke has just been, on such a poor form for the last 24 months, because the number of clear chances he's getting is minuscule.
You're right. Right, let's go into the chat. And Mark Easton said, we have an aging squad, young blood needed. I mean, that is just, again, we all know that. And it is only going to get worse if we don't bring our kids through. And Matty Cannon has come up with another valid point. Just because we always start poorly each season, I hear so many people saying it doesn't make this all right. We should and can do so much better. Well, yeah, I suppose so. But then when you've got Sheffield United that have just come up and they are eager and just want to give out a few black eyes. I mean, we're the first, but it is what it is. And so. So Simon Krebin has just said he doesn't really like Schlupp, and in a more.
Is that what he really said?
No. And again, Paul Glance said that the bottom line is we aren't scoring goals. So we're two games in, and we are 0 goals. So it was only at the end of the season that we started to, once we were free of the shackles of not going down, that we were able to
believe in ourselves and play the game that we. And I think this is it, isn't it? Right. I think the shackles aren't, as far as the club's progression is concerned, I would say the shackles are being put on us by the lack of further investment from the Americans and the fact they want to get out. And I think that's hampering us. But Matty Cannon's come up with a point here. Every time we make new signings in the window, they're never fit enough to start or play 90 minutes. 4 to 5 games in, they're still trying to get match fit. We need to get points on the board early this season. But again, I suppose, Matty, it's because we're hampered so much at the minute in the market, and we're not going early for players before we're then selling players, and we seem to be reactive. I guess the types of players we're picking up are exactly the ones you're talking about. And as such, we're probably hampered there as well. There's a lot. It's on the pitch. It's Roy and his tactics. They seem to be quite negative all the time. Rarely does he ever change things. In fact, the 2 or 3 times he did change things, it worked for us last season because he's so predictable. It caught everyone out.
Yeah, I know. In a few minutes, we're going to have Nick on, and he wants to Nick Philpott. He wants to come on and have a chat from an away travelling fan's point of view. And again, Daniel Garlick said, I feel sorry for those Law supporters who made the trip today. Christopher Tidd said, he's replying to Mark Greedy, he said, Benteke is a broken man, doesn't know how to score goals anymore. And then again, Paul's turned around and said, he said, I nearly went today. He said, I thought, rude word, I'm going to stay in Spain instead, because he does travel from Spain to the games, and he does do most of them. So Teresa Baker says, we've been awake since the start of the transfer season. Someone needs to be poking the players. And then John Knox, oh, you're a man after my own heart, and I've been saying this for 7-8 years, right? He's just turned around and said,
don't believe him.
And no, because you'll love this, because we have said this. We've been saying this for at least 5 years, me and you. Should we try 3 at the back?
Oh, yeah, we said that last week. We said that last week.
But
that's
what
exactly
I'm saying
what we should be doing. Roy won't do it, though.
No, I know. But the thing is,
I tell you what, once Mamadou Sakho, Tompkins and Cahill are available, that is what I would do. That would actually help PVA a lot, I believe, because it would give him more of a license to move forward. I don't know who would have. Ward's not too bad going forward on the right, but I also think it will relieve a bit of the pressure off of Luca at the minute as well. But we'll wait and see. But yes, I agree, John.
Yeah. So John Kenny said, Man United will put their second team out now they've seen this. Yeah, I mean, we know they won't. But yeah, and again, Sir Curtis Michael Simon said we need heavy investment Parish business model is non-sustainable. Heavy investment required. Palace look like a tired club. Time to step aside, Mr. P and Co. Look, the only thing I will say, I've got a mate who's entrenched in the club, and I don't know if I put this on social media about a month or so ago, but he turned around and said to me that he thought if we were still, and again, you lot are going to, some of you will be screaming at this, but he said to me, if we are still in the Premier League in 10 to 15 years, he thought that we would be a force in it. So, anyway, on that bombshell, I can see Mr. Ben Allen.
Well, I can see the top of his head.
Better?
Yeah. Not really. No, go back up again.
Right.
You won't want to see the T-shirt. It's a Banksy.
Oh, okay. All right.
Give us your tuppence worth, Ben.
I've just got in. We've had another family edition, so I should imagine it's been probably the most positive show we've seen in a long time. But there's been glowing reports of outstanding football, flowing attacking football, a tactical masterclass by Hodgson after a brilliant transfer window by the owners. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I don't need to say anything.
That's it. Quick done.
Yeah, that's. I've watched a team today that I thought, I honestly think 38 games of that will be an absolute struggle to watch. They look like they've got no legs. They look like no ideas. They've got no. There's just nothing. No creativity. No spark. No invention. No fight. No communication. How many times were they running into each other or taking the ball off each other's foot? It was just a disorganised mess of a game, I thought.
Well,
I can't disagree with any of that. And just talking about players running into each other, Ward and Andros Townsend, in the first 10 minutes, both taking a swing. It's just that even the basics seem to have just deserted them for the time being. And when you on your opening line for another 38 games, I'm thinking 38 more games of that. It's just going to be horrendous.
No, you're right.
Four more.
We've started a season and within 2 games thought we've not learnt a lesson from last season. We're a team that fails to create chances. We're a team that just play without the ball, home and away. And if we can't score away from home like we can't score at home, then we are bang in trouble.
Yeah, and I look at other teams, and I mean, Watford have surprised me at how poorly they've started, but the team that beat them last week, they who should not be mentioned, I think they've now got a really good manager, and they've bought well as well, and I have no doubt they'll be lording it over us this season. If we don't pull our socks up, along with another 16 teams.
I don't think so. Anyway, let's get off of this. So Mickey Philpott said, so there's two parts to this. You two can sort this out. I'm going to throw lots of questions at you. Do we need to look closer at the coaching staff? And Tony Nichols has turned around and said the ground redevelopment seems to be at the root of all our problems. We need the extra capacity to generate extra income, but the lack of any communication from Steve Parish would appear. I can't read. Would appear to suggest that the whole matter is permanently on hold. The Yanks want to go and take their cash with them. I need to add something to that. What they want they want an investment on their cash that they've given to the club. So if they
want more than their cash,
they want to take a home. They want to take more than what they've and the Yanks want to go with their cash, take that with them. Is it time that Steve Parish and the Yanks all sell up? That would include the other percentage of Americans that have that holding in Delaware. Sell up and the next to take the next step forward. I'm sure there are buyers out there. Well, the thing is, from what we heard in the background, Tony, that there were potentially 4 buyers, and I know, and again, I'm not going to say, but I will say, I'm not going to say who told me, but that only one came up and made an offer, one potential buyer, and that was just, it just didn't happen. So, Ben, I've just thrown all that at you. So behind the scenes, coaching staff first. 20 seconds. Coaching staff, change it? Yes, no.
Coaching staff, I think we missed Stephen Reid. I think they've brought Dave Redders in, who Stephen Reid was a professional footballer and was for 20 years, so could talk to the players on a level. None of them there, I think, can talk to the players on a level that a ex-professional or recent ex-professional can. I think they missed Stephen Reid, and we didn't replace him with someone of similar standing.
Okay, and the ground redevelopment, is it holding us back?
The ground redevelopment, I think, is a massive white elephant. I don't think the Americans ever have any intention of developing or investing into the ground. I think they're more interested in having a ground that has planning permission.
I agree.
And plans in place. And then you're selling something. We've got a stadium for the first time we own. We've got a training ground we own. We've got a Premier League squad. We've trimmed the wage bill. We've spent nothing in transfers, and we've got planning permission. All of that, put it on paper, and it looks attractive. For me, I think personally, the people that want to buy the club want to buy the club. We had the one person we kind of got mentioned was someone who they thought might not pass the decent and proper test. Is that the one you're talking about?
Fit, yeah.
Yeah. Does Parish want to sell, or does he still want to stay on board? And if you're spending 250 million on a football club, would you buy something where you're not the sole decision maker?
That's a good point. Just going into the chat, Scott McGrowski said, "Don't panic."
We're beyond that.
Well, anyway, Ian,
we're not panicking. We're just being objective, aren't we?
Yeah. So exactly, Ian. Mickey said, closer look at the coaching staff. Yes or no?
Yes, without a shadow of doubt.
Okay, that's it.
Okay.
And because otherwise we're going to go over. And the ground redevelopment seems to be the root of all our problems. Yes? No?
No, it's all about investment. I understand what you're saying about the development. It's the old Ron Nodes chicken and egg scenario, isn't it? He was always about developing on the pitch to bring people in to then warrant a stadium. But we're now at that stage, so we do now need increased capacity, which will then feed the cycle again. But it's not the be all and end all. Someone needs to come in and release the funds and pay the funds. Right. And I agree with Ben. You know,
absolutely. Linda Drew has just come up with a great thing. She said, poor recruitment, no investment in players, going backwards towards the trap door, no ambition.
Have you talked about transfers? Have you talked about transfers today?
No.
No. Go on.
Well, it's just the impression I get from talking to a couple of people that we were close on a couple of deals on deadline day, and for some reason they pulled them. And when that gets explained to me why, this is the first transfer window, and you'll know, Joe, that Steve Parish hasn't appeared on any social media after a deadline day. He used to talk to you lot on Hull. He used to show up at an FYP, and this is the first time that he's said nothing.
Well, he did come up with he did tweet last week on social media.
He was abroad as well, wasn't he? Yeah.
No, and it was he was in wherever he was, and it was something.
But he hasn't gone anywhere and explained.
No,
you know, although I've seen a couple of hours before deadline day, they had things going on. They were close.
Freeman's done an interview, hasn't he?
That interview, Ian's come out of a podcast that he did before the transfer window closed.
Ah, right, okay.
So the quotes are, we were sitting there on the 101 Bissaka money. That was before, and if you listen to the podcast, I'll put the link in the chat and I'll put it on Facebook. He's talking like they're still trying to do deals, and the window was open. And for some reason, midday transfer deadline day, everything stopped. And I'd love to know why.
We just need to do it arse about face. We just don't, all the other clubs, again, it's something we discussed on the last couple of shows, is that everyone else gets their cover in before they sell their asset. Because as Freeman pointed out in that interview, everyone thinks we've got 50 million, then they're just going to hold us to ransom. Well, if you know that, the fans know that, why don't you do something about it and be proactive?
Exactly.
You're scouring the planet. You're saying you can't find within budget on wages and transfers a right back that is not better than Joe Ward, that you don't have to spend 40 million for.
Well, that's essentially what that's the proof of the pudding, isn't it? Either that or they've been poorly prepared.
They did that. I think they put their eggs in one basket and thought Nathaniel Klein, and when he popped his knee ligaments, that kind of they started to panic.
Mm,
But I'm
possibly.
sure if you should still have 3 or 4 people that are of equivalent to Joel Ward that you could have brought in on deadline day, and to not bring anyone in,
Scandalous.
it is. And having no left back, we've got no left back and no right back cover.
And the one defender we do bring in isn't played yet.
And again, why Cahill? I think actually is a very good signing. But
I think it's brilliant.
I've watched AFCON, and Chiarte looked fairly decent at centre back. Couldn't they have saved the money on Cahill and played Chiarte there at cover if he's not going to start?
And the only reason Chiarte's missing is it's not because he's injured; it's because he's been on AFCON duty, isn't it?
Camarassa's not injured, and he didn't pick him today.
Well,
yeah,
there's some confusion as to why he wasn't picked today.
There was a tweet about 10 minutes into kickoff that said he wasn't injured, he had travelled with the squad, just wasn't picked.
Oh, God, it's so depressing if that is the case.
I bet you're glad I've joined now.
Yeah, now I am panicking, Scott. Well, I mean, it's all ifs and buts. Ultimately, there's only one person that can change it with the squad as it is, and that's Mr. Hodgson. And you know, there needs to be a serious step up in attitude. If we lose next time, then fine. As long as people are flying in tackles, you know, passing the ball are far sharper than they have today, showing a bit more commitment, talking, screaming and shouting at each other, and putting the effort in. That's all we ever ask as fans, isn't it?
Yeah. Go out with a bang, not a whimper, because today was an absolute whimper.
Right. So Jeff Warren again another valid. Said we have no competition for places, an aging squad, no investment for the manager since he's been here. It's shocking. If Roy was 50 years of age, would he leave? I think so. I think you're probably right, Jeff. And Mark Creedy has agreed with pretty much everyone. Dreadfully,
I thought there was an interesting quote from Hodgson yesterday talking about how important it was that Luca had signed a contract extension, which I thought was ironic, seeing that Hodgson's into his last year and hasn't signed one.
Well, I just think in a day or in that particular time frame of everyone going mad at the club for not signing this player, that player, I think that was just, you know, a bit of I don't know, like a bit of good news, a bit of free good news.
No, listen, the transfers we got, there were 2 mediocre ones and 2 good ones. Camarasa and Cahill, I thought, have strengthened the squad. I think they've been good signings, but nevertheless, the squad we've got, we should be seeing a lot more than we have seen in the last couple of games. Everton was okay, but today, with the squad that we've got, that means that 2 of those players should be straight out next week, regardless of who it is, because you can pick anyone of 6, and bring another 2 in to prove their worth. That is the whole point of having strength in depth. It's to cap the competition. If he's going to keep the same starting 11 for next week, there is no competition.
I think with Hodgson, it's unless you're injured, you're playing, aren't you? Unless you're Jeff Schlupp.
Yeah, exactly.
You play your way. I think you play your way out of a Hodgson team, not your way into it. And not to pick Camarasa or even to have an attacking midfield option on the bench, I'm struggling with. Because going by that performance today, I'd have AU out the squad and out the team and have Camarasa in front of him.
Although I think we missed AU today. I think we missed his industrious nature.
Sorry, I meant Mayer.
Mayer. Okay, yeah. I was going to say. Well, even Mayer, I think I dropped Jimmy Mack and put Mayer in the middle, because Mayer is a far better technical player than pretty much everyone on that pitch. He's being hung out to dry on the left in front of PVA, who he's having to do a lot of covering for because he's woeful as a defender. And then when the ball's won, there's no one on the left side to play it to. He had no service. Andros had very little service until the second half. And what's happening is our opponents are targeting PVA, which means Max Myers always on the, receiving the ball with his back to, the offensive side. So I think it's a bit tough on Max to drop him. I think I'd certainly move him before dropping him. I think there are other players that should be dropped first.
I just think he fades. I don't know what he does after 60, 70 minutes. You know, the short passing, he does well and kind of, but same as all our midfield, it's just sideways, isn't it? And there's no one there playing the ball forwards.
Yeah, although we did start going long
but
from 60 minutes
forwards, I
onwards,
mean, on the deck into channels, we don't do it. We play sideways, and it's our sole game plan.
The ball down.
Get the ball to Wilf. Get the ball to Wilf.
Yeah, it's very one-dimensional.
Well, the frustration of today has quite clearly got to a lot of people, us included. I honestly don't know where we go, what we do, whether we play the same team at Man United. I think we're so. Do we play Cahill? I think we need someone. We need someone
with a big game mentality. Definitely.
Yeah, big game mentality. I also think that we need someone who's got a little bit more guile. I think just having average players running at us today sent us into a panic. I would absolutely love for some of our. I can't think that some of our youngsters aren't going to be as good as some of those players out there today. I don't know what's going on with. I need to talk to Nick as well and ask him this: whether the fans were booing our players at the end.
Well, I'll tell you what. I think Nick is home now, so I'll drop off, and if he wants to join and give you his perspective from a match day point of view, because I'd like to hear what it was like. Because you know, the fans for the greater part were good, but I think I picked up a little bit of booing in it, getting a little bit antsy towards the end. So I'll jump off. I just wanted to say hello and add my positive spin on everything, and you get Nick on.
Ben, congratulations to the family as well.
It's another one. She's clucking now. I'm glad I got this nip. I'll see you later, chaps.
See you later. So George said Meyer was rubbish today and wasn't good at the high balls as the Sheffield players bullied him off the ball. Well, yeah, but that isn't his game though, George, and he was played out on the left, so you know, it is what it is. Nigel Croucher said there was no booing at the end. Well, someone was booing. Maybe it was the United fans were booing Wilf. I don't know. But anyway, so while we sit here, we're on our graced with the presence of my usual co-host. So read all about it or talk all about it. Nick, how you doing?
Hi, boys. You okay?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I'll try and put a little bit more of a positive spin on things, if you like. It was a lackluster performance, both on and off the pitch. Good turnout by the Palace fans, but they weren't exactly vocal. So you can't, if the players argued the fact that they didn't get behind the team, it wasn't their usual standard. Let's put it that way. I've likened that performance today to the opening game of the season 2 seasons ago, where we were at home to Huddersfield. Huddersfield, newly promoted team, as Sheffield were today. They came at us. They closed down every ball. They wanted every ball. They were first to every ball. And Palace, my worry about Palace today, okay, and I want to talk about the Man United game in a minute, if you don't mind. My worry about today is that back four of ours was a championship back four. Joel Ward tried. I put in probably at fault for the goal. Joe, I thought you Guaita parrying it away. It was actually Hennessy that was getting slaughtered for doing that first parry out. It was actually a very good save initially, and then obviously it was tucked home. You got Scott Dan, aging Scott Dan. You've got PVA, who's clearly out of form, and I would possibly try Schlupp in that position just to give him a break. It's an aging back four. For next week, my only thought, and Roy won't do what I'm about to suggest, of course, because we all know how conservative he is. My thought process is you go with the back five and bring the experience of Cahill in to play alongside Kelly and Dan, and maybe give Van Aanholt and Ward a chance to do something different. But we know he won't do that. He won't change it, which brings me on to my last point, was, and I've read all the comments that are going through. Everybody, thank you for joining us, and thank you for joining the boys. But is it time for the manager to step aside? My only worry with that is Dougie Freeman sitting in the wings.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because as we were talking about it earlier, you know, if the warning signs are there, we should already be looking for a manager. They should already have a list anyway, based on the last minute, you know, buggering offs of Pullis et al. So we should have a ready-made list there. So if they haven't, and we end up with Freeman, I will do my pieces.
Ian, I mean, you've got to understand that this is Crystal Palace Football Club. They've never been any good at succession management. Okay, they're not. They can't even get a bloody transfer window correct.
Or learning from their mistakes.
And exactly that. And so, whilst your hopes and your wishes are probably right, you're probably right to think that as a fan. This is Crystal Palace Football Club we're talking about. The reality is, and we know the reality is.
Are you saying my expectations are unrealistic?
Well, for the football team that you support, the answer is your question is simply yes. But having said all that, I'll give you a quick roundup of the day. It was a great day. The fans lots of people came up to me. Lots of people were saying hello to us and enjoying what we do on the show. I know they're enjoying what we do on the show. So thank you for all your positive comments out there. Sad for you to have to come back of quite a long journey after what was an abject performance, okay? And you two need credit to putting on a show. And you haven't been that negative. You've been realistic, okay? So congratulations to you both.
Well, it's been quite easy without you in here, hasn't it, Joe?
Ta-da.
It is what it is.
No, well, I mean, you know, the three of us can talk Palace for days on end, you know, when we're together. So it's just, I mean, we've had a lot of great comments in today as well. So it's been good getting the vibe from everyone that's watching, because it's nice to know that the 2, 3, you know, the 4 of us that come on aren't just sitting here in isolation thinking, you know, like in an echo chamber, because it's, we're all living it, aren't we? We're all, you know, hands in front of our faces as we're watching it unfold.
I'll be interested to know what you guys think. I mean, we know that you won't do it, but what would you think about bringing in something like? I mean, the other one I didn't understand is why Camarasa travelled but wasn't even in the matchday squad. Cahill, what must he be thinking? What must Cahill be thinking? This is a guy that has played Champions League, played Champions League football, thinking to himself, why can't I get in a Crystal Palace team over Scott Dan and Martin Kelly?
Yeah,
he must be. And what will happen is he will lose any confidence he's come to the club with if he's not played soon. Yeah, and he is the leader that we were missing today. He's the leader, and Camarasa is the ball player. And with respect to your points you two made about Benteke today, the ball's not coming to him from midfield. Rightly said, and you're right to point that out. But the thing is, because of how the system that we're playing, he's continually trying to receive the ball with his back to goal. Okay.
Yeah. Why are we playing him in that system?
God knows.
That's the ironic point. The ironic thing, isn't it? Is that we're digging players out when they're being played either out of position, as Max Meyer. He's not a left winger, so why play him out there? And then the likes of Benteke for not scoring when he's not playing in a system or a team that's playing to his strengths. His strengths are crosses from the wing in front of him, so that as he's running onto it, not, as you quite rightly pointed out, having to push the back 4 back, turn round to receive the ball, and then find out that because it's been a long ball ping to him, and because Max Meyer is having to do PVA's job and Townsend's just lost out and on the wing somewhere, that there's no one within 30 yards of him. So he's on a loser. So why play him in it? Hodgson, what are you doing?
Well, let's talk about Hodgson. So without the going Hodgson out brigade, if we could choose another manager, I'll just throw some names that have come up. obviously Jose loves us. I don't think we could ever afford him. Tony Moles has come up with Harry Redknapp.
No.
And also there was just coming back a little bit more. Darren Moore is an interesting suggestion. Again, Colin Waterman, Rafa Benitez. There are managers. There's managers out there.
I'd certainly have Rafa. I'd certainly tap Rafa and Jose up. Both are on us. Well, Rafa's on a sabbatical of sorts in China, isn't he? But George Oagro, hi George, Bilic. Hasn't he just taken up a role recently though, Bilic?
Don't know. I don't know. But again, another name, Chris Houghton.
No,
I wouldn't be averse to it.
No,
Well,
too negative. Too negative. This is our problem. We need a manager that's progressive in getting the team up the pitch. In Hodgson, we got someone and had someone that suited what we needed at the time: stability and working hard. But it only gets you so far. What we now need is someone to be a little bit more progressive and aggressive, and not scared to make any changes. Mourinho wouldn't be scared to make any changes. Benitez wouldn't be scared to make any changes. Those two, I'd be tapping them up and saying, look, do you know what? Enjoy your time for the time being, but there'll be a place here for you, come the end of the season.
I actually agree with much of that. I mean, the two favourites there would be Rafa Benitez, and I think that ship has sailed, and I think we missed the trick on that one. And obviously, Jose Mourinho. On both parties, we wouldn't be able to afford him anyway, either manager, simply because Rafa Benitez has gone out to China to line his pockets, as everybody does.
Yeah, but he's lining his pockets. That's all he's doing. He'll come back. The Premier League is where it's at. He would drop his demands to come back to the Premier League.
And it's the same. If Mourinho wants to come back to the Premier League, and he's actually stated publicly on that day-long interview that he did with Sky TV that he's happy and he wants to come back to the Premier League, he needs to come back with a transfer budget. That's the biggest thing that we don't have. So unlikely, I would say. Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I mean, the one issue I would have with Jose is that when he falls out with a player, his way of dealing with it is binning him, regardless of what contract he's on, and then asking for another 80 million to buy someone else. And we wouldn't be able to do that. So, I mean, as I say, the people that shall remain nameless down the road have done well getting Potter from Swansea. And maybe we should be looking for an up-and-coming manager.
Well, up-and-coming managers are generally lower leagues or managers that we've never heard of from Spain and Italy.
What about the boys at Lincoln?
Yeah,
I think that'd be a good shout.
Well, I don't know anything about them, but I mean that would be a huge risk to bring someone in from the lower leagues. Personally, from the Championship maybe, but from further down the lower leagues. But anyway, so Nick Nat, Paddy Weck, Nick Gassett, he turned around and said Dougie will be our next manager. It seems to be
hello, Nick.
Yes. It seems to be a reoccurring theme that we've been saying since he came back to the club. That will eventually happen. Anyway, we've pretty much done this to death. I think what we do, we'll wrap up by saying.
So that's all we've done is the first half, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to carry this on. It literally.
You've had enough.
No, honestly, it's been done to death. But anyway, listen, we just need to say some thanks to John Lyons, who's invested in our show and the Red and Blue Review.
Thank you, John.
Really appreciate
Thank
that.
you, John.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Also dropped off a load of pens, pencils, and other bits of stationery for my charity.
Great stuff.
So yeah, really,
and a
really
lovely
pleased
bloke
about
to
it.
boot, and a lovely, nice man to boot, a proper Palace fan.
Yes. So
Lots of them around.
Anyway, there's a load of people. I mean, Tony Moles has said Vincenzo Moreno has done an amazing job with Mallorca. I don't know. Teresa says me can't do it. I'm afraid I'm always busy. too busy. Linda Drew said the ex-Huddersfield manager. What is he doing these days?
What, Wagner?
Yes.
He's making pressure washers, isn't he, or something?
I don't know. Curtis Simon, so Marino will put 10,000 on the gate if we can alter. Well, we can't. We can't get any more through the
We need a new stand for that, yeah.
Sol Campbell is available apparently. It's failed miserably, so I've heard. Listen, it's we've done this to death. Nothing's going to change. What do you reckon next week, E? Man United. How many are we going to?
4-0 to United.
Jesus.
If we play like we did today, 4-0.
Nick.
Yeah, I've got to say he's not a million miles out. 3 or 4, I would say. Something's got to physically change, and they've got. I was a little bit concerned with Zaha's. You know, he didn't seem really up for it today, and his attitude needs to lift for next week. Okay, I know he's a big game player, so you never know. We might put in a performance, but and you know, on today's performance, it's got to be 3 or 4-0, I think.
Well, I mean, like you say, because of today, there will be a lot of negativity going in through this week. Social media will be, you know, trying to choose the best team for us. Whatever Roy does is going to be wrong. If he sticks Meyer out on the left again, he's going to get slaughtered for it. If he chooses Benteke over Ayew, he's going to get slaughtered for it. Loads of people are giving the scores. Throw the scores in quickly. I'll give you a shout out.
1-0, Tony Miles. Wow.
So, so Ashley Cole, 5-0. Mark Bushell, 4-0. Dan Simmons, 3-0. And Tony Nichols said Wagner is at Schalke now. Teresa Baker says we will win 2-1. Tony Mole said 1-1. Yeah, I can't see. I can't see us getting anything. Yeah, sadly as well at the moment, I can't see us scoring. So unless something changes, James Conby 6-0, John Knox 3-1 United. Anyway, listen, on a bit of a car crash day for us on the pitch. Hope we've managed to try and put a little bit of perspective back into this. But what do we know? What we'll do is we'll see you all next week. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Ben.
Cheers. Well
Thanks,
done, guys.
Ian. And thanks, Lucy, in the background. Thanks to everyone else that's been on and contributed to through Red and Blue Review and through Red and Blue News. Thanks for the little bits of abuse. We take everything in our stride and try to take it on board.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, if you like it, we'll see you. And if you don't bother coming
We won't.
back. Hey! Thanks very much, everyone. We'll see you after the very next game. Good night.
Good night, everyone.
Bye.